What's up, Doc? I'm Pugs Bunny, and welcome to Marvel Mondays. Every Monday, you get a Marvel video, but that's not exactly excluded to just Mondays. It's just more of a dedicated day for it. For the first 25 Mondays, I'm covering Marvel Sagas, a collection of moments and stories from Marvel categorized to give us an official history of the Marvel Universe. This is number 4. So you might want to go watch the other 3 videos so you're caught up in the lore. This is how we've kick-started Marvel Mondays, but you don't really have to do that. Anyways, a quick recap so we're all on the same page. Previously, Namor the submarine.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Okay. So I owe everyone an apology. I've mispronounced Namor's title for a long time now, but as of today, I am a new man. No more submariner. We're doing it right this time. At least I hope. Previously, we got to see Namor, the Submariner's origin story, where we see his birth, his family's unconventional naming scheme, and the reason why both Atlantis was destroyed and how he got amnesia, thanks to his foe Destiny using his helmet. When Namor got a little bit of his memory back, he would blame humanity's nuclear test for the reason why Atlantis was destroyed, so the Submariner would end up battling the Fantastic Four, using a horn to summon Giganto. We got to learn the reason why the Hulk hates humanity himself, and we also got to see Bruce Banner prevent an alien invasion without his Hulk form. Doctor Doom would make his grand appearance, kidnapping the Fantastic Four and forcing the 3 males to go back in time to retrieve Merlin's gems. But instead, they ended up creating Blackbeard by dressing up the Thing like a pirate. So yes, he's canonically Earth 616's Blackbeard. At least I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Prime Earth. At least I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Earth 616. We also got a good look at Doom's origin and how he managed to master magic and science and grow a hatred for Reed Richards. Peter Parker tragically lost his Uncle Ben, and after he caught the killer and turned him into the police, he learned his iconic lesson of great power comes great responsibility. And we ended off with a glimpse of Xavier, ready to come out of his reclusive lifestyle because he has learned of other mutants like himself making waves in newspapers. Now that we're all caught up, let's dive into issue number 4 of Marvel Saga, the official history of the Marvel Universe. Book 4 of Gods and Mutants. The time, a handful of years ago. Superpowered beings are beginning to appear on Earth in large numbers. Some have proven to be heroes, but others have become great menaces. Many people are coming to especially dread superpowered mutants, persons who are born with the potential to develop superpowers. Other super beings acquired their powers through transformations or artificial means, but much of the public fears that genetically different mutants are a new super race that will displace ordinary humanity. Now, 2 FBI agents once again review a film made of one of the first known mutants, and of the near riot his appearance caused.
This is the 10th time we've run this film, Fred. What more can we hope to learn from it?
I'm not sure, Bill, but it's our first real clue. Our only proof that mutants even exist. The 2 agents do not yet know that this boy is Scott Summers, who lived in an orphanage and was visiting New York City when this film was made. The agents start the film over again to once more see the incident that exposed Scott Stark's secret. Kudos to the cameraman because the shots he get are pretty good. Then, as the short film, recorded by chance, by TV news cameras, begin.
That huge crate contains an air conditioning unit. It was being lifted into place atop of a Midtown office building.
Good heavens! The crane! The beam of scarlet light broke it! The seemingly doomed spectators below all fled in panic, all save one. A few months ago, Scott had gone to an optometrist since his eyes seemed to be giving him headaches. Only glasses with lenses made of ruby quartz seemed to help. The glasses Scott now removes to unleash beams of incredible destructive force. That would be a really cool pair of glasses. It can't be. It disintegrated into thin air. Yet, it took the crowd only seconds to turn on their unknown benefactor, who luckily managed to slip away. He must have been some kind of mutant, a monster with deadly powers. Then, he's more dangerous than a falling crate, by far. But where is he? He's gone. Scott is indeed a mutant, and will one day be the X-Men called Cyclops. but now he runs, terrified of both the gathering mob and his own power. It was Scott who accidentally fired the beam that caused the machine to fall in the first place. His eyes have only just begun to radiate deadly energy that only his own eyelids or the ruby quartz can stop. And as the all-important film strip comes to an end, it's uncanny. There's something about the thought of mutants, of otherwise normal human beings born with some extra power, that drives mankind to distrust, fear, even hatred. Somehow, I'm sure that the same youngster who saved the crowd is the one whose powers had endangered it, probably accidentally.
Can we be sure it was an accident?
Not yet. Not until we confront that boy himself. Abruptly, without warning, a third voice is heard in the room. When and if you do confront that lad, gentlemen, may I suggest that I be there? My presence may be more important than you dream.
What? A man in a wheelchair? I didn't hear.
My name is Xavier. Professor Charles Xavier. How in blazes did he get in here? Past our armed security.
Well, maybe we don't know how he got in, but I sure know how he's gonna get out.
Surely, we've nothing to fear from an invalid.
No matter how hard I push, the wheelchair won't budge.
You merely think you are pushing with all your might. In reality, it is you who are immobilized by me. The bitter irony there. Then you must be a mutant, set on stopping our investigation. I'm a mutant, true, but my purpose in coming here is far different than you suspect. You are the one I've come to see, because you, Agent Fred Duncan, are in charge of that investigation. He's made no overt move, but I'd better fire up the wall to bring the guards. Holy hell, I can't even pull the trigger. A somewhat melodramatic use of my vast mental powers, I admit, but effective nonetheless. Now, perhaps you'll listen for a few minutes while I explain who I am and why I've come here. Then, to his somewhat captive audience, Charles Xavier introduces himself and tells of his extraordinary powers. But, as you yourself have guessed, mutants may be either good or evil. Even that tortured boy in the newsreel is doubtless as frightened of the crowd as they of him. You make sense so far. Go on. I propose to help you and the human race by tracking down myself, the mutants in this country. They would scarcely trust an outsider, but perhaps one of them. I gotta admit, it might just work. We have some leads on who some of the mutants are, but we haven't figured out how to approach them.
Maybe you flip, Fred, but it may be our only chance.
Not merely your only chance, gentlemen, but possibly the only chance for mankind. If they are hounded, persecuted, they may band together to become the very menace that you fear. Okay, Xavier, you've sold Fred Duncan. We'll supply you with the info we have, and you report at intervals to us. Excellent, Agent Duncan. I'll keep in touch regarding my progress. Let us hope we have both reasoned correctly. On us may depend the survival of all humanity. Charles Xavier worked with Duncan for a time, but later severed his connection with the government, fearing it, too, would turn against mutants. Thus, Xavier, himself a mutant with tremendous mental powers to read and control other minds, takes the first step towards the founding of the X-Men, a team of young superpowered mutants whom he will train to use their powers for the good of the world. But while this is the beginning of the X-Men, it is also a logical step in the extraordinary life of Charles Xavier. Xavier is the son of Dr. Brian Xavier, a wealthy nuclear physicist, and his wife Sharon. When Charles was only a boy, Brian Xavier was accidentally killed in an atomic bomb test. At the funeral, Sharon Xavier was comforted by Brian's colleague, Dr. Kurt Marco. I know how you must feel, Sharon, and I share your grief. But as his friend, I shall look after you, and after the boy too. Thank you, Kurt. You were very kind. Even though he was Dad's fellow scientist, I never trusted Dr. Marco, and I don't trust him now. It's crazy how common it was for someone's friend to try to take or hit on their wife. But even at his young age, Charles could already sense people's true thoughts, and he realized Marco's real motives for marrying Sharon soon thereafter. At last, now I have everything I've always dreamed of. Money, power, that's all he really cares about. The day after Marco moved into Xavier Mansion in Salem Center in New York's Westchester County, his son by previous marriage arrived. This was Cain Marco, who is now Charles Xavier's stepbrother. Take my bag upstairs, and don't drop them. You must be the new stepbrother. Wipe that stupid look off your face. Right from the start, Cain Marco despised Charles. Ha! That'll teach you not to stand around with your dumb-looking face hanging out. Oh my god, it was just so sudden. And I see that Charles's hair went from blonde to red real quick. The marriage of Kurt and Sharon Marco quickly soured, and Sharon's heartbreak helped bring on her death shortly afterwards. Charles was alone, with his stepfather and stepbrother. Then, one day, he heard them quarreling over money. The answer is no, Cain. If you want money, go out and earn it, as I did. You know how you earned it. It was no accident that Xavier died at Alamogordo. You dare accuse me? What did he mean by that? What really happened to my father during the atom bomb test? Nothing. Nothing at all. He was just joking. He didn't realize what he was saying. I realized plenty. And no bratty stepbrother of mine is gonna cause any trouble now. Cain, don't touch those test tubes. They're unstable, explosive. You young fool. It's too late now. You spilled them. If the different chemicals should touch each other, look out! The chemicals exploded, and the room was engulfed in flames. Kurt Marco was fatally injured, but in one of the rare unselfish deeds of his life, the dying man carried his son and stepson to safety. With his final words, Dr. Marco made a confession and delivered a faithful warning. Charles, your father's death was an accident, but I might have saved him if I tried, but I didn't. Forgive me. Beware of Cain when he finds out about your power. Power? Look at Cain's stupid face. Dr. Marco knew what Charles himself did not fully realize yet. That Charles could read minds. For quite some time now, Charles had found himself experiencing the thoughts and emotions of other people, including Cain's anguish at his mistreatment by his father. At first, Charles was frightened and tormented by the inability to block out other people's thoughts. Moreover, Cain sensed that Charles knew his secret shame, and he hated Charles for it. This hate would grow as time went on. As the years passed, Charles learned to control his telepathic powers. He also lost his hair while still a teenager. A genius, Xavier finished college in biology at the age of 18, and then went on to earn doctorates in genetics and biophysics at England's Oxford University. There he met and fell in love with a fellow student of genetics, Moria McTaggart, the daughter of a Scots nobleman. Charles and Moria were contemplating marriage when he was drafted into the army. By a grim coincidence, Xavier finding himself serving in Asia alongside his stepbrother Cain. One day, Cain deserted under fire and ran into a cave. Charles followed to bring him back, and the two men discovered a buried temple within the caverns. It's the sacred lost temple of Cytorak. Legends have warned of it for centuries. That ruby, it looks alive. There's an inscription on it. No, don't touch it. Don't. Whoever touches this gem shall possess the powers of the crimson bands of Cytorak. Henceforth, you who read these words shall become forevermore a human juggernaut. Drop it, Cain. Drop it. You don't realize what that means. Through the almost blinding glow, Xavier could see Marco's silhouetted figure begin to change, and then the two men were separated by a cave-in. It was believed that Cain Marco died in there, but years later, Marco would return, intent on killing his stepbrother, having been transformed by the ruby into the virtually unstoppable Juggernaut. Xavier eventually was wounded in battle and sent to a military hospital. There he received a letter from Moria breaking off the relationship without explanation. Man, the tragedies poor Charles has faced. One day, Charles Xavier and Moria McTaggart would resume their friendship, though not their romance. But now, Xavier was overcome with despair. After leaving the army, he eventually went to live on the Greek island of Kyrinos, where he came to terms with his loss. He came to enjoy this extended vacation from the United States and continued to travel. His next stop was Cairo, Egypt. While there, Xavier met two criminals who would play important roles in his life. One was a skillful child thief named Ororo, who succeeded in picking Xavier's pocket. Although he then used his mental powers to stop her, Ororo would one day become the X-Men called Storm. Hey, the other was a crime boss named Amal Farouk, whose telepathic powers rivaled Xavier's own. Farouk was the first evil mutant that Xavier had ever met. I am Amal Farouk. I rule what you tourists like to call the Thieves' Quarter. Who are you, my friend? A stranger. Xavier was outraged that Farouk would use his powers for crime, and, speaking telepathically, challenged him to a psychic combat. Their astral forms then rose from their bodies to do battle on another plane of reality. I sense fear in you, stranger. Are you sure you haven't bitten off more than you can chew? Only a fool is without fear, Amal Farouk. But Xavier finally defeated him, thereby killing Farouk's physical form. Farouk's spirit would return years later, and for a time take psychic possession of one of Xavier's mutant students, Karma. It was the first encounter with Farouk that made Xavier aware of the menace that evil mutants posed to the world, and of the necessity to counter that menace. Continuing his travels, Xavier was invited to Israel by a friend from his army days, Daniel Shamran, who ran a hospital there. Xavier had helped Shamran with psychiatric patients in the past. It was Shamran who now introduced Xavier to a man named Magnus. This is my hospital. Very snazzy. Before independence, it used to be a posh resort. My staff is a mixture of professionals and volunteers like Magnus here. Welcome, Doctor. Dr. Shamran has spoken often of you. The pleasure is mine. Magnus was different from most people in one way that Xavier immediately began to suspect. Magnus, too, was a mutant. One day, in fact, Magnus would be feared by the human race as Magneto, the mutant master of magnetism. He would become Xavier's and the X-Men's greatest foe. According to Dr. Shamran, you're a miracle master. Hardly. I've merely been luckier than most. Fascinating Magnus's mind is closed to me. He's no telepath, but his natural psychic defenses are as formidable as my own. Could he be another like me? A mutant? That tattooed Magnus, were you? Auschwitz. I grew up there. And your family? I have no family, Dr. Xavier. Anymore. Magnus was a survivor of the Nazi death camp Auschwitz, whose horrors showed him how mankind, at its worst, treats those who are different from the majority. Shamran also introduced Xavier to another person who would prove very important to him, Gabriella Haller, a survivor of the death camp of Dachau. Most of our volunteers were in camps, Charles. They begin a degree of empathy to their work that the rest of us can't match. But occasionally, there comes a case that stymies our best efforts. This is Gabriella Haller. Her experiences in Dachau so traumatized her that she withdrew into catatonic schizophrenia, a total retreat from reality. She was like this when she arrived here. She hasn't improved yet. Without revealing his mental powers to anyone, Xavier used them to cure Gabriella of her catatonic condition. After her recovery, Gabriella and Charles became lovers. Without admitting that they were mutants, Xavier and Magnus often found themselves debating what would happen if a race of superpowered mutants came to public attention. Xavier believed that normal humans and mutants could learn to live together in peace. Magnus, embittered by his experiences under the Nazis, sharply disagreed. Charles, you are an idealistic fool. If mutants exist, humanity will fear them, and out of that fear, try to destroy them. There is only one way to guarantee the survival of Homo Superior, and that is for them to hold the reins of power. One night, Charles and Gabriella were attacked by a squad of strangely costumed commandos. The commandos knocked Charles unconscious, seized Gabriella, and fled in one of their 2 skycraft. The rest of the group headed into the other. But as Xavier revived, he saw the second commando skycraft explode inside a nimbus of light. Looking around, Xavier then saw Magnus on a nearby rooftop, surrounded by a similar light. Even as Magnus came down to the ground and ran to Xavier's aid, Charles could only wonder, was Magnus responsible? Charles, you're hurt. Not seriously, my friend, though my head hurts like the devil. Magnus, what did you do to that aircraft? What had to be done? My only regret was that I was unable to act sooner. Was it necessary to slaughter them? They would have done no less to us. You amaze me, Charles. When you were a soldier in Asia, did you not kill without hesitation or mercy? I killed to survive, and the memory still sickens me. Charles, Magnus, we have a prisoner. But Xavier found out what they needed to know by reading the prisoner's mind, thus revealing his mental abilities to Magnus. Now each man knew the other had superhuman powers. Xavier and Magnus tracked Gabriella's captors into Kenya, Africa, and disguised themselves as 2 of the commandos. Watching from a distance, they discovered that her captors were led by the infamous Nazi war criminal, Baron Wolfgang von Strucker. Baron, the woman's directions were perfect. We found the cave. I hear, Lieutenant, in truth, I doubt there is a living being between here and Nairobi who has not heard your announcement. Because it is good news, and because of your youth, I shall overlook your disgraceful lack of discipline. This time, repeat this transgression, however, and I shall not be so forgiving. I am sorry, Mynheer. Never apologize, boy. It is a sign of weakness. Strucker had fled Germany during the war after a falling out with Adolf Hitler and became the principal organizer of a new force out to conquer the world, Hydra. Strucker had learned that the knowledge of the location of a huge cache of Nazi gold had been forcibly implanted in Gabriella's mind by Nazis while she was in Daegu. It was this process that had turned her catatonic. Strucker had tortured her into revealing the location. The things he did to Gabby, I see them, feel them in her mind. Magnus, he tortured her. Calm yourself, Charles, or we are lost. We cannot aid Gabby or bring Strucker to justice if you continue acting like a lovesick schoolboy. Within the cavern where the gold was stored, Strucker exulted. Behold! Carmadon! The fortune will provide the foundation of our new order. A brotherhood of terror that will bring the democracies, the communists, every country on earth to their collective knees. Wherever our beloved Führer, Adolf Hitler, failed, Hydra shall succeed. Hail Hydra! Xavier rescued Gabby while Magnus used his magnetic powers to hold off the Nazis turned Hydra agents. But the shock of all this danger and turmoil plunged Gabriella back into her catatonic state. Against bullets, my friend, I need no help. Surely by now you've realized that we are 2 of a kind. He's a mutant, like myself, with the ability to manipulate metal objects. This is fantastic. Wearing his powerful Satan Claw gauntlet, Strucker attacked Magnus. To you goes the honor of being the first to fall beneath its irresistible power. But Magnus used his magnetic powers to crush the deadly weapon. Your precious claw is primarily made of ferrous metals. That makes it particularly vulnerable. Magnus used his powers to carry off the Nazi gold, thereby also triggering a cave-in which Strucker apparently perished. Xavier, meanwhile, worked on trying to bring Gabriella out of her catatonic state. An impressive sight, is it not? How is Gabby? I'm not certain. I think I've reached her. But what of Strucker and his men, Magnus? What do you mean to do with that gold? Do you really need to ask, my friend? You are far too trusting, Charles. Too naive. You have faith in the essential goodness of man, and in time, you will learn what I have learned. That even those you love will turn from you in horror when they discover what you truly are. Mutants will not go meekly to the gas chambers. We will fight. And we will win. Farewell. Magnus, no. Gabby. Gabriella now came out of her catatonic state and has had no reported relapses since. This exploit of Xavier's would have many far-reaching results. First, it strengthened Xavier's resolve to use his mutant powers to battle evil and injustice. Xavier also continued his romance with Gabriella Haller for a time before he left Israel, although he would not know this until many years later. During this time, he fathered Gabby's son, David, who, as Legion, would prove to have powerful mutant mental powers himself. Magnus used the Nazi gold to prepare for his own war against humanity. As Magneto, Magnus would become Xavier's greatest foe and seek to guarantee the freedom of mutants by conquering humanity. But eventually, Magneto and Xavier would become allies once more, and the reformed Magneto would even become Xavier's successor as the leader of the X-Men. As for Baron Strucker, he would survive to build Hydra into a menace that would nearly succeed in dominating the world. Strucker's schemes would finally lead to his own death, but his twin children, Andrea and Andreas, live on to seek vengeance upon Xavier and Magneto for defeating their father so many years before. Continuing his travels, Xavier came to Tibet. Of course he did, where he found a mysterious walled city governed by an unknown individual. I am intrigued by your great walled city and I wish an audience with its ruler. Nay, but that is impossible, for our master dwells within yonder citadel, and even we are never permitted to gaze upon him. They're rumbling! The walls! Those shelves are closing in! Nothing can stop them! We've followed the strangers to our dome! No, don't give up. Keep struggling. That's the old American motto. There is still a way. I must hope and pray that my mutant brain can locate the machinery which moves these walls within moments. Xavier and the rebels escaped the trap and took over the palace, but the city's hidden master, who was indeed an alien, planned to crush the rebellion. He was being called Lucifer, the advance agent for a planned invasion from the planet Stellium. The intruder is a formidable opponent. Still, he is foredoomed to failure when matched against my superior might. Now to beep beep. But wait, there is the signal of the Supreme One. Ancient One, our relay systems record that part of our equipment on Earth is destroyed. What has happened? An uprising among the Earthlings, Supreme One. It shall be crushed. No. Take no risk which might prove fatal to our cause. The leader of the Quits ordered Lucifer to abandon his base, but first Lucifer dealt with the rebellion's leader. So, it is you who has tyrannized this city. Who are you, and where are you from? My true purpose you shall never know. But, on this planet, I call myself a Lucifer. And now, that name shall be the final thing you hear. Prepare to die, for daring to oppose that which no mortal can comprehend. The great slab released from above at the touch of a switch. I can't dodge in time. Xavier fell beneath the enormous weight of the slab, which permanently crippled his legs. And, before he lost consciousness, he saw Lucifer seem to vanish into the wall. So, you still survive. Live. Then, perhaps it is fated that you and I meet again one day. But remember this. It is even the strong who are meant to rule. And we are the strong. Who does he mean by we? Is he actually the herald of a far greater menace from the stars? Years later, Xavier's X-Men would defeat Lucifer and destroy the Quit's plans to conquer Earth. Xavier himself would even one day regain the ability to walk. Now, however, the defeated Xavier returned to America and spent years living as a recluse in his Westchester County mansion. During that time, Xavier's reputation as an authority on genetics and mutation grew. Years after his return to America, he was contacted by John and Elaine Gray, whose daughter Jean had telepathic powers she was unable to control and which threatened to drive her mad. Xavier realized that the 11-year-old Jean was a mutant. He suppressed her telepathic powers with his own and trained her over the next several years in using her telekinetic abilities, which enabled her to levitate objects. After reading about the mysterious young mutant with the I-beams, Xavier contacted FBI agent Fred Duncan. Now, after going through Duncan's files, Xavier deduces who the mutant may be. So there you have it, Professor Xavier. All the information which we of the FBI have on the probable mutants in our midst. It's not much to go on, but it's all we got. Then it'll have to do, Mr. Duncan. Besides, one description on this list especially interests me. The one named Scott Summers. Fleeing from the crowd in New York City, Scott had smuggled himself aboard a train. Can't risk discovery by riding that boxcar any longer. I'd better take off now, while it stopped at that siding up ahead. Scott had been separated from his family years ago. His parents, Christopher and Catherine Ann Summers, and his brother Alex were traveling in their private plane when it was attacked by a starship from the Shi'ar galaxy, hunting human specimens. Catherine Ann pushed Scott and Alex out of the burning plane with the only available parachute. The two boys survived, but they believed that their parents had perished. Scott's parents were captured and taken to the Shi'ar Empire, where Catherine Ann was killed, but where Christopher escaped to become Crosshair, leader of the space adventurers called the Starjammers. Alex and Scott were sent to an orphanage, but only Alex was adopted. Years later, the brothers would be reunited. Alex would become a mutant superhero under the name Havoc. He kind of looks like Bullseye, and he kind of looks like a villain too. However, the head injury Scott sustained in his fall caused brain damage that would prevent him from being able to turn his I-beams on and off when they developed years later. Now, however, back at his mansion, Professor Xavier used his first mutant detecting device to locate Scott. Later, Xavier will build a more advanced version of this machine, which he will name Cerebro. To his surprise, Xavier discovers that Scott had encountered a second mutant. This makeshift device of mine, which I call Cyberno, should find young Summers for me, as I probe the Washington area in ever-widening circles. By now, he could well have reached the New Jersey-Pennsylvania border and, wait, something's happening. I found him. It must be he, from the data I fed into my own personal computer. But there's a second, far stronger force registering as well. I attempted to locate one mutant, and I seem to have found two. The second mutant is Jack Winters, alias Jacko Diamonds. Thanks to his own latent mutation, when Winters' hands were exposed to intense radiation, it turned them into crystalline forms that were as strong and hard as diamond. Moreover, Winters had various psychic powers. Yeah, Summers, your eyes ain't playing tricks on you. Look for yourself. That radioactive stuff turned my hands to pure diamond, the hardest thing in the world. It can't be. It's impossible. Impossible, kid? That word don't exist anymore. Not for me. Not for Jacko Diamonds. If you don't believe me, just watch how my hand goes right through this blasted steel beam. And I'll do the same to you if you try to think out on me. Using what we had learned from Cyberno, Xavier finds Scott with Jacko Diamonds, who wants to make the teenage mutant his partner in crime, but Scott is no criminal at heart. Use those eyes of yours to blast him. Fast! No, at this range, that would be sheer murder. No matter what you do to me, I won't become a killer. I'm lucky to have located them before the evil mutant gained too much of a hold on young Scott. It's risky to confront them both alone, but I must try. Scott and Winters escape, and Winters breaks into an atomic laboratory where he exposes himself to still more radiation, gambling that as radiation first unleashed his powers, more radiation will increase them. More power! More! His hunch pays off, for his entire body became diamond hard. Now, Winters will confront Xavier as the Living Diamond. Due to Winters' own psychic abilities, Xavier cannot stop him with his mental powers. I'll smash ya and end ya for meddling for good. What's wrong with me? My arm. I can only raise it very slowly. Well, it still come down fast enough to finish you off. My mental bolts, they can no longer penetrate to his brain. He's become immune to my psychic blast, and I have no physical defense against his diamond hard fist. But just as the Living Diamond is about to kill Xavier, Scott Summers makes the most fateful decision of his life. Scott switches sides and uses his power to save Xavier from the diamond. Must act now. It's the kid's force beam pushing me back. Good work, Scott. Keep it up. Keep it up for several seconds. I don't know why that's funny. Don't let him regain his balance. But Scott's eye beams can only slow Winters down, not stop him. Working together, Scott and Xavier use a machine in the lab to trap the Living Diamond within powerful vibratory force waves. It's on, sir. And if your hunch was wrong, we're both doomed. The machine is humming, though barely audibly. But wait, look at the Living Diamond and what it's doing to him. My arms, they've gone stiffer than ever. Can hardly move them. Gotta try harder. No, Winters, don't. His lust for power making him unwilling to surrender, the Living Diamond is shattered to pieces by the powerful vibrations before Xavier and Scott can find a way to save him. Karoom! Too late. Can't help him now. Must get out of the way. Xavier then brings Scott to his Westchester mansion and explains his plans for the young man. Then you intend to form a group of mutants, each with some extraordinary power? And you want me to be the first member? Precisely. You will be the nucleus around which I shall build the group. Well, what do you say? Are you with me, lad? You know it, sir. In short order, a previously designed costume is modified for the unique teenager. I shall have to remain in the background, but not you. Therefore, this disguise will hide your true identity. Whatever you say, Professor, I just hope this visor works the way you claim it will. And now you are ready to become the first of my extra-powered mutant allies, they who shall be known as the X-Men. And because your eye beams seem to emanate from one gigantic orb, I shall call you Cyclops. I hope and pray I'll never let you or my fellow mutants down, sir. Now the scene shifts from Westchester County to the Norwegian countryside, where a lame American surgeon he's so lame. Dr. Donald Blake is vacationing. Blake does not know why he felt compelled to travel there, nor does he see the alien starship landing behind him. Out of the starship come the Cronans, also known as the Stone Men from Saturn, since they have established a base on one of Saturn's moons. They next intend to conquer Earth.
At last, we're on Earth. This atmosphere, it is so different from our own planet.
Overhearing a man who saw the aliens, Blake decides to investigate. It's them, the aliens. They're just as he said, they were men of stone.
Remember death to any who discover our presence.
If they find me here, they'll kill me. I better leave while, blast it, I stepped on a twig. This is low-key a really funny introduction. I didn't know Donald Blake's origin was so funny.
Lo, an Earthling. He has seen us. After him. Don't let him escape.
Blake flees from the aliens into a nearby cave. Made it. But they're bound to find me soon. If only there was a way out. Back there is another exit. But it's blocked by this boulder. Ugh, it's hopeless. Can't budge it at all. The cave is so dank, so gloomy, and airless. It seems no human has set foot in here for ages. Might as well wait for the stone men to find me. I'm trapped. But suddenly, the wall is opening. I must have pressed some kind of hidden lever when I leaned against it. It's a secret chamber. There's nothing inside, except that gnarled wooden stick, like an ancient cane. I wonder, Perhaps by using this as a lever, I can move the boulder. I still can't budge it, but I must keep trying. Mustn't give up. It's my only chance to escape. No, it's hopeless. Even a bulldozer couldn't move that giant rock. In helpless anger, Don Blake strikes the useless cane against the immovable boulder. And as he does, what? The cave is bathed in blinding light, like a fiery bolt of lightning. And the ancient cane, it's changing shape. And I'm changing too. Can this really be happening? Or am I going mad? No, it isn't mad. I can feel my body bursting with power. Power such as I never known. The cane, it has become a mighty hammer, and I have been transformed into wait? There are words inscribed on the hammer. Whoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. Thor, the legendary god of thunder, the mightiest warrior of all mythology. This is his hammer, and I am Thor. But how is it that the immortal Norse god of thunder could have come to be trapped in a mortal body until this moment? To answer that question, let us first look back at the origin of Thor. The beings whom we call the Norse gods are superhumanly powerful, incredibly long-lived humanoids from Asgard, an other-dimensional world, whom the Norsemen of Earth came to worship. Long, long ago, Odin, the monarch of these gods, came to Earth to search out Jord, the primeval goddess also known as Gaia and as Mother Earth. I seek an heir whose power surpasses Asgard. You are the fertile spirit of Earth, fair goddess, and I of heaven's glory. We were to join in love. What majesty might be born of such divine union? Your fervent plea wins my heart, mighty Odin. Jord bore Odin an infant son, your blood son, dearest Odin. I shall call him Thor, for one day he shall be as mighty as the thunder. Odin triumphantly returned to Asgard months later and gave Thor to his wife Frigga to raise. Oh wow, that's kind of messed up. You have done what no god has ever dared, sharing your celestial substance with the goddess of Earth. The child in truth is hers, yet I vow to raise Prince Thor with pride as though he were my very own, in accord with your wishes. Odin later adopted Loki, an undesired child of the slain king of the giants of Jotunheim, and raised Thor and Loki together as brothers. But Thor was always Odin's favorite. Fat Loki resented more and more as they grew older. When Thor was 8, Odin commanded the dwarves, Eitri and Brock, to create 3 great treasures. The 2 dwarves therefore made a golden boar, an enchanted armband, and one of the most powerful of all weapons, the hammer Mjolnir. Now, by your leave, a gift unlike any in all the realm, the hammer Mjolnir forged of mystic Uru metal. It is a unique weapon of matchless strength, my lord, and invulnerable to destruction. To Mjolnir's natural properties, I shall add my own divine enchantment. Henceforth, no one shall be able to wield this hammer lest he be worthy. And ever shall this mallet return to the hand of him who hurls it. And ever shall the thunderous storm and the very elements on high respond to Mjolnir's summoning. The golden boar and magic armband I shall hold in trust for all the gods. But Mjolnir shall be reserved for Prince Thor upon the day great deeds of selfless valor prove him worthy. I pray I shall merit such reward. By Hela's dark and deadly netherworld, I'll not permit that day to come to pass. But the scheming young Loki was unable to prevent Thor from winning the hammer. Odin kept his word, for after Thor reached adulthood, the Asgardian monarch bestowed the hammer upon him. Loki bitterly turned away from this scene. His resentment of Thor had long since turned to hatred, and this event only served to further fuel that hate. For deeds of selfless valor, countless as the heaven stars, enchanted Mjolnir is yours to wield with care. Old Thor, Asgard's heir apparent and my devoted son. Bah! All hail the prince! For a time, Thor often visited the Norsemen of Earth who worshipped the Asgardian gods, but he eventually abandoned Earth, sickened by the slaughter of innocents these warlike people committed in his name. But Thor himself was not without faults. Once, for example, he pursued a deadly monster into Jotunheim and slew it. However, by merely entering Jotunheim, he violated a treaty between that land and Asgard. Then, Thor was confronted by one of the giants who lived there. "'Tis I, the son of Odin, who has done for thee great service."
Silence, base intruder. You have broken the royal truce. And for that, the price is death.
Thor retaliated, and thereby nearly started a war between Asgard and Jotunheim.
A puny Asgardian dare challenges we who be giants.
Thou must be crushed, like the insect thou art. Fortunately, Thor's closest friend, Balder the Brave, was able to persuade him to leave before the situation grew even worse. "Though my limbs crave battle, as surely as do thine, I have come to lead thee hence. Since the trespass is thine, the wrong is thine as well."
Thou wouldst have flee from combat?
"I would have the honor, the treaty royal."
"Thou art right, as ever faithful friend. My hammer's enchantment shall afford us safe passage.
But not even Mjolnir shall protect thee from Odin's rage." But despite Odin's frequent chastisements, Thor continued to let his headstrong pride get the better of him. Finally, Odin saw the thunder god engaged in a rowdy tavern brawl and angrily summoned his unruly son before him.
"Thou didst call me, sire? I, god of thunder, thou art the favored son of Odin. Thou art brave beyond compare, noble as a prince must be. Thy strength is legend, thine honor unsullied, and yet I find thee wanting. Sorely grieved am I, my father. Wherein have I failed? Thou art lacking in humility. Though thou art supreme in thy power and thy pride, thou must know weakness. Thou must feel pain. But such lesson can ne'er be learned by Thunder God. Thus thou shalt leave the golden realm and shed thy godly trappings. Thou hadst conjured up a vision? 'Tis Midgard. Yeah, 'tis the earth, where fragile mortals dwell. And there shalt thou reside, and there shalt thou learn that none can be truly strong unless thou be truly humble. No longer art thou god of thunder, nor shall Mjolnir serve thee now. Thy memory too shall I strip bare." So Thor found himself transported to the campus of a medical school in the United States as a crippled mortal student. Crippled? Oh yeah, the cane, duh. He knew his name was Don Blake, but he remembered nothing of his life as Thor, god of thunder. Nor would he remember for years. Blake studied and became one of the world's greatest surgeons. Thought he was a lame surgeon. He became devoted to helping the sick and to helping humanity in general. The fact that he himself was a cripple helped teach his humility. Finally, the day came when Odin sensed his son was ready and instilled in him the desire to travel to Norway, where his transformed hammer awaited him. Now Blake had become Thor again, but not until many years later would Odin restore his full memories and reveal to him how he had come to become Don Blake, an identity that today Thor no longer uses. Let us return to the moment that Don Blake first turned into Thor. As yet none of his memories of his past as a god of thunder had returned, and so he experiments with his powers. First he uses the superhuman strength to remove the boulder and escape the cave. Then he tests the uses of his hammer. Nothing can resist it. Nothing.
The hammer returns to the thunder god when thrown, and almost no one but Thor can lift it. But if he loses hold of it for over 60 seconds, its enchantment will turn him back into Blake. Next, Thor learns how he can perform various magical feats with his hammer by willing it to do them as he stamps it upon the ground.
By stamping the handle twice on the ground, I can create rain or snow, which soon grow into a raging tornado. All the power of the storm is Thor's to command. Then, to end the storm, I merely stamp this handle 3 times on the ground. But if I should stamp it but once, the hammer changes back into a cane, and I once again become Dr. Don Blake. To think, the most incredible power of all time has been hidden in that cave, waiting to be found. But I've wasted enough time. The world must be warned of the presence of the Stone Men.
Blake changes back to Thor. He uses another enchantment of the hammer to fly after the Cronins, and quickly defeats their invasion force.
I've beaten them. I have proven that the power of the hammer and the might of the thunder god are invincible. Nothing can conquer Thor. Nothing. The Cronins flee Earth and Thor as Blake returns to the United States. Though no living humans have yet seen him in action, soon the Thunder God will become famous as one of humanity's greatest champions. But now we turn our attention to Dr. Henry Pym. I think that might be another typo. I think it's supposed to be we turn our attention. A short time ago, Pym had developed a serum containing strange subatomic particles which enabled him to shrink in size. But the potion proved more powerful than Henry Pym had anticipated. It reduced him to the size of an insect and led him into the most frightening encounter of his life within a teeming anthill. Frantically, Pym escaped from the ants and reached his enlarging serum. Thank heavens, it's making me grow. After he was restored to normal size, the scientist destroyed his potions, which he felt were far too dangerous to exist on Earth. However, weeks later, so great a discovery must not melt into nothingness. I must concoct the serums again. Not only did Pym create his serums again, but his experience in the anthill inspired him to study ants. The more I research, the more convinced I become that ants really do communicate. Through their antennae, if I could discover what their electro wavelength is, I could tune in and learn more about them. This helmet I've devised will enable me to contact the ants, to tune into their wavelength and actually communicate with them. And I have designed a protective costume to wear, which will shield me from an accidental ant sting or bite. I've then completed a cybernetic helmet which allows him not only to communicate with, but to command ants. Pym turns to another project, a gas he hopes provide people with a limited immunity to radiation. But now, Soviet agents break into Pym's laboratory and take him and his assistants prisoner. The agents are determined to steal the formula for the gas and then kill the witnesses. We have disposed of your guards and disconnected your warning alarm. You are our prisoners. They posted a guard in front of my door, and there's another outside, so I can't escape by the window either. I'm isolated, trapped in my lab. Pym, imprisoned alone in his office, has only one way to defeat the spies. He dons his new helmet and costume and becomes the Ant-Man for the first time. He uses the reducing serum on himself, and once again shrinks down to ant size. It's working. This time, however, Pym makes a discovery that will help him considerably. It's incredible. When I took the reducing serum this time, it diminished my size, but not my strength. I still have the strength of a full-grown man. One by one, Henry Pym frees his assistants. But yet, the tiny human's task is only half done. My men still can't attack the spies. While they're so well armed, I must communicate with the ants again. I must make them understand what they are to do. And, at an electronic signal from their new master, the workers attack, biting and stinging their human victims. Yay! The Ant-Man and his ants thus give the spies prisoners the opportunity to attack and defeat their captors, and Pym uses his enlarging serum to return to normal size. No one learned Pym could shrink himself, and Pym has no intention of becoming the Ant-Man again, but as time passes, Pym will find that he likes being a superhero, and the Ant-Man will soon become a world-famous crime fighter. Shortly thereafter, Dr. Don Blake returns from Scandinavia and resumes his medical practice in New York City. His heartbeat is stronger, Miss Jones. He's recovering.
Thanks to you, Doctor. Without your treatment, who knows what might have happened?
Jane is so beautiful. If only I could tell her how much she means to me, but I daren't. For a girl so lovely would never marry a lame man. And if she knew I loved her, she'd probably quit her job. This is hilarious. Then I would never see her at all. But unknown to the doctor, not only does his nurse not mind his lameness, but I could care for him deeply. If only he would show some affection toward me. If even once he would take me into his arms and tell me he cares. But no, not him. He's too darn stuffy to ever be romantic. In his first recorded public mission since his rebirth, Thor battles the tyrannical leader of a revolutionary army in Latin America. The Yankee is gone. He escaped. But Thor is here to mete out vengeance. Bah! He is but one man.
He cannot oppose an entire army. Destroy him. But they cannot. And, defeated by the Thunder God, the soldiers seek a scapegoat for their failure. Look, our leader flees with our gold. He is the cause of our downfall, and now he tries to desert us? He must pay for his failure. There is a burst of gunfire from the angry rebels, and the leader's despotic reign comes to its violent end. Shortly thereafter, some travelers by sea witness a very unusual sight. Prince Namor, the Submariner, at play. Only weeks before, the Submariner had tried to destroy New York City in his fury over his mistaken and still held belief that it was the surface people who had destroyed his undersea kingdom of Atlantis. But the Fantastic Four stopped him, and now Namor seems at peace, his anger forgotten. But all that his rage needs to return in full force is the proper stimulus, which even now is arriving. High above the scene of innocent frolic, an evil presence hovers, searching the broad expanse of water with a baleful electronic eye. Ah, I finally found him. I knew my television scanner would pick up a low-level focus. Now, Submariner, we have work to do. I'll buzz him at wave height. That'll attract his attention. He's got an airplane now. Well, well. So a surface mortal dares invade the privacy of Prince Namor. I come in peace, Submariner. Our meeting has been inevitable and long delayed. Is that so? Come out where I can get a good look at you. So you shall. Behold, the face of your new ally, the one who shares your ambition, the punishment and total defeat of the Fantastic Four, and then all of mankind. That is strong talk, whoever you are. Never fear. I am strong. Strong enough to join the powers of science to those of darkness. Show me the puny mortal who does not tremble at the name of Doctor Doom. Dr. Doom accompanies the Submariner to Namor's splendid new home, a domed, air-filled villa beneath the sea. It would appear that you've taken a holiday from your campaign against the surface world. Men no longer speak your name in fear. Then they are fools. My wrath can easily reawaken their fears. Ah, the invisible girl. So she's the reason for your changed attitude. Of course, if you wage war against the Fantastic Four, you must be her enemy too. Take care. That female is no concern of yours. I'm making it my concern, Submariner. It must be evident by this time that to defeat the Fantastic Four, it may take a diabolical duo. You and I, striking out for power and revenge. What has happened to your thirst for revenge? Have you forgotten the glistening towers of your once great civilization? The culture and comfort enjoyed by your happy subjects? Imagine your great and proud people struggling for thousands of years, defeating all the terrors of the deep to build a civilization superb and beautiful. Yes, beautiful and glowing with life, until that last terrifying moment when the monster of a bomb lodged in the midst of that beauty. Gone. All that glorious history gone in one brief instant, replaced by an ugly crater in the ocean floor, littered with fused masonry and bitter memories that cry out, revenge. Revenge! Revenge upon the surface world which did this in its ignorance. Revenge upon humanity's defenders. Death to the Fantastic Four! I cannot harm the girl, but I will aid you in defeating the others. A short time later, at the Fantastic Four's Baxter Building headquarters in New York City, Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, finds a secret possession belonging to his sister Sue, the Invisible Girl. As the two argue, their teammates Reed Richards, alias Mr. Fantastic, and Ben Grimm, the monstrous thing, enter. I suppose you know the identity of the face in this photo. I do. Now give me that portrait. It belongs to me. What's going on here, you two? Nothing much. I'm burning a picture, a photo of Submariner. You've got no right to do that. It was my property, do you hear? Bah, I knew it. All a gal wants is a good-looking guy. I think the Submariner is really ugly, personally. But whatever. It doesn't matter if he's the most dangerous creep on Earth. I think you owe us an explanation, Sue.
Oh, how can I explain something I don't understand myself? I know Submariner is hostile to us, but... And at that same instant. But still, there is something about him. Something gentle and... Oh...
Submariner, how did you get in here?
Flying in through a window is no problem to Prince Namor. Well, I don't believe him. Stand away from him, Sue. I'll see to it that he doesn't escape us again.
A circle of flame?
No, you can't do this. You must hear him out. Why, he's not even trying to defend himself.
He's too angry to listen to reason. You'd best stay out of the way. I do not fear the torch. Fate has given us a reprieve, Submariner. Now speak or give battle. I've come to seek your trust. You see, mine is a lonely kingdom, and a lasting friendship may prove of more value than any fleeting taste of revenge. Very impressive, Submariner. Only I'm not inclined to shake your hand too readily. How do we know it's not a plot? How do we know you haven't set a trap?
Yeah, you better do some fast checking, pal. I'll keep an eye on him.
Oh, please listen to him. Can't you see he's sincere?
I'm still for checking. Come on, Torch. We can look into every room by closed-circuit television.
We can find out soon enough if he's got any traps set in here.
Reed Richards is right. Namor has set a trap. He has planted one of Dr. Doom's inventions, a grabber device, in the building. This little cylinder can exert incredible magnetic force, but Doom has shielded the grabber from Reed's detection devices so well that Reed is unable to find it. Taking no chances, Reed has the entire building evacuated except for his teammates and Namor. And minutes later, well, my suspicious friend, does my presence here pass your rigid inspection? I'm not satisfied yet, Submariner. Stay where you are. I'm coming back to ask a few more questions. Well, you'll just have to wait for the time being. I'm on a holiday, and I decided to take this charming young lady on a tour of the city. Submariner's flippant mood suddenly vanishes as a loud tremor shakes the entire building. Slowly, smoothly, the great skyscraper begins to rise free of its foundation, begins to rise above the now deserted streets. The building, it's rising into the air.
We're going higher, faster.
This is your doing, Submariner. You can stop this. I can't, you fools. I planted the trap, but it's been triggered by Dr. Doom. Next month, the Fantastic Four versus Dr. Doom in a showdown in space. But whose side is Namor on? Plus the origin of the Angel, the origin of the Iceman. You know, the guys from X Factor. Wait, X Factor? Like the show? No, it can't be the show. The origin and life story of Loki, god of evil. Plus the Hulk, the Wizard, the Ringmaster, and even more. And that brings us to the end of Marvel Saga, the official history of the Marvel Universe, issue number 4. I hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry for missing last week's deadline. So each issue is getting longer and longer, it feels like. So Marvel Sagas might be a every 2-week thing now, every other Monday. But Marvel Mondays are still gonna be every Monday. I might just have a shorter, different Marvel video the Monday prior to Marvel Saga. It just depends. But this issue was really good. It focused a lot on Charles Xavier. It's finally nice to see his origin and how he got his legs broken. And seeing some kind of backstory for Scott Summers was amazing. I really like Scott. He's my favorite X-Men. Ant-Man's story is still kind of dull. He doesn't really do anything too special. He don't really have enemies. Not yet, at least. I'm kind of wishing they would bring Guardian back. I want to see more of him. I really liked his design. Drop a comment about the new mic, by the way. Is my quality any better? Do I sound better? I think I do. My original mic was an on-brand, and now I have a Razer mic. It's way bigger. And in the last Marvel Saga video, Benjamin Kellogg commented a parallel between Namor and Doom both being of royalty who the axe to grind with humanity. Kind of how they're holding their prejudice for what happened to them in their homes toward a previous generation and just lashing out at the world, really. Y'all should really read his comments. He makes really good outro scripts. He don't make my outro scripts, but I should ask him to. Sue Storm keeping a picture of the Submariner is really disrespectful, considering he tried to kidnap her. It's almost like Stockholm Syndrome in a way. But it probably isn't anything weird. She just sees like a softer side to him, but Reed Richards is taking it really well. I know I personally wouldn't, but I'm not him. And their dynamic's honestly really wholesome. It's one of the best couples in all of fiction. And oh my gosh, dude, I loved the Donald Blake. Like, his story was so funny. I like that Odin made him a cripple, even though it has a deeper meaning than just being funny or insulting. But I do love that he's this fantastic surgeon, an amazing doctor, but he, along with, I guess, everyone else, thinks he's lame, and that's what holds him back from rizzing up Jane. But it's funny nonetheless. I'm very sorry if I sound really tired right now. I am. I'm a tired pug. And that slap from the intro really knocked it out of me, I guess. If you enjoyed everything that you saw here, stay tuned, love and sub. And with that, that's all, folks.